I'm in Shenandoah National Park, and this is Bootens Gap. This is mile marker 55. Yep, there's my little red car. And we're gonna go across Skyline Drive here and look for an old abandoned road over this way. The elevation here is 3240. So over there is the little parking area at Bootens Gap, Skyline Drive, and that looks like the old abandoned road right there. Seems to be heading in the right direction, so let's head on down the side of the mountain a ways. And there's an old homestead down here, or there was, and should be also, this road should also eventually take me a little bit further north, and I can circle back on Skyline Drive over here. So we'll see what happens. Quarter of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 3,100 feet, and that's where I came from, up that way. The gap's up that way. There's a fair number of obstacles in your path getting down the first 500 feet or so of the old road, but look at this. This part down here is pretty darn clear. It's not exactly where it's shown on the map on my GPS, but it's close. So to keep following it, and I'm hoping to eventually this thing's gonna run me into another old road down here. We'll see when we get there. .6 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 2980, and I'm about 0.15 miles from intersecting with Powell Mtn Trail, but I'm kind of in a real flat zone here, and I've run out of obvious road, so I'm probably just going to hike a bearing to get up onto Powell Mtn Trail, and then I'm going to look around a little bit to see if there's any evidence of another road intersecting coming up from the south. That's the way I'm headed. The road right here, that's going uphill. The road is hugging the side of the mountain here. That's where I came from. And maybe you can see it's a lot more overgrown here than it was when I started. The headwaters of the creek are down that way. Now there's supposed to be a homestead down that way. I don't know if the whole area looks like this. I may not go down there. It's a little late in the season for me to be bushwhacking like this. It's a lot easier to see stuff before the leaves come out and before all the bugs come out to play. Anyway, I'm going to keep heading up this way, and at least I'll have a good track for this old road to this point. I'm going to mark this point BG 1.5, which is where I basically ran out of road. .7 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 2990, and I'm standing on I finally intersected with Powell Mtn Trail. This is it right here, and That's where I came from. Now when I get done looking around here, that way takes you up to Powell Mountain Summit. I'm going to turn around. When I get done looking around, I'm going to head back this way, which is going to take me up to one of the overlooks. And then I'll circle back, loop back to my car up that way on Skyline Drive. But for now, I'm going to head over here and look for my point BG2. I was bushwhacking towards that and it just started getting really rough, so I picked a different route to get over here to the trail. So I'm a little bit off by about maybe 400 or 500 feet. So I'm going to go over here and see if I notice any roads coming up along this creek that's down here. Any evidence of any roads. If there is, I might follow it down a little ways. Eight-tenths of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 2940. I've been looking around for the any remains of the old road heading down towards my homestead, which is BG4, waypoint BG4, which is down this direction. And this kind of looks like people have been down here before. But this whole area, I'm going to do a 360 here. And that right there looks a little dished out next to this big tree. But maybe you can see everything's getting leafing out, and the nasties are starting to come up from the ground. See how I can't see very far anymore, so I don't feel like bushwhacking, and it's about 4/10 of a mile. I don't feel like bushwhacking through this stuff for 4/10 of a mile. I'm gonna record this hike though, and then I'll try and come back maybe in the fall after the leaves have fallen and everything's you know, dead again. Maybe I can head down this way. But for now, I'm just gonna go back over here, which is over this way is Powell Mtn Trail, and I'll start circling back towards my car. So it's gonna be kind of a short hike. .6 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 3280. This is Hazeltop Ridge Overlook. I came out of the woods down there, and you walk across this open field, and you come right up here where this concrete signpost is. So that's looking to the west. Here's the overlook. That's heading north. And I'm going to head this way to the south, about 7/10 of a mile, back to Bootens Gap where my car's parked. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Fletcher, 1999, and this was a bushwhack hike looking for an old abandoned road on the west side of Bootens Gap. This is Bootens Gap right here, mile marker 55. So you park over here on the east side, and there's a well-maintained fire road that goes down the east side of the mountain like this, down towards the Conway River. On the west side, there's nothing currently maintained, but if you notice this dotted line here, which comes over like this. So I came over here and I found this old road. It doesn't exactly follow this path though, at least I don't think it does. But anyway, I followed the road up here to about this point here, Bootens Gap number 1. And then it does take off a little more to the northwest, but not exactly to here. I think I ended up coming out about here. This is the Powell Mtn Trail right here, coming down like this. So I bushwhacked this to here. Now I have an earlier video where I started here and followed this road, continues on up to the north. The problem is right in through here it's very flat, and there's really no trace of the road left through here. There's a good trace of it to here, and then if you bushwhack up this way, you'll eventually find you'll pick up the rest of the road this way, and it heads north and eventually intersects with Skyline Drive up here. But what I did was I came down this way looking for any more traces of this dotted line here, this old road. Really couldn't find any. So then I just turned around and followed Powell Mtn Trail back to Hazeltop Ridge Overlook, got some shots from there, and then walked Skyline Drive back to my car. Now let me show you the old map. This is Madison, 1933. Here's Bootens Gap, and here's the road going down the east side, down by Conway River, and it comes up here and it just keeps right on going up like this on the west side. And originally I was hoping to follow this down to this homestead. This square, black square here was an old homestead. But when I got up here, I really couldn't find any more trace of the road, and it's about 4/10 of a mile from here down to here, which would just been a pure bushwhack, and it's getting kind of late in the season to be doing that, so I decided not to do that. This ended up being a short hike. It was 2.4 miles and total ascent of 409 feet. And that was the hike for today.